Well, it's great to have your company here on Overtime. 11 rounds done in what is a fascinating NBL season, and it's about that time where everyone gets a little bit tired, a little bit snaky, and some people just go careering into the wall, and that's what Felix von Hoff has done this week. He is off, a late call-up. I was just sitting at home minding my business this afternoon. I got the phone call to come and sit alongside Damon Lowery and Pete Hooley. Gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Always good to have you here, Jack. And Felix, you need to harden up, man.
That's all you got for him? I expected you to come. It is a long show, so I want something. By the end of this show, you can think of a movie quote or something. He needs to hear some inspiration because we need him back in the NBL sphere, and he doesn't miss too many things either.
Leave it with me.
Okay.
It's formulating.
Okay. This is a guy who runs in weight vests and talks about Navy SEALs and that sort of stuff, and Felix has missed because of a sore chest.
Yeah.
Soft.
Well, to be fair, during the pre-production meeting yesterday when he was trying to contribute, he couldn't say much, so it was actually very normal to a normal pre-production meeting. But hopefully he's feeling all right. We'll see him again soon.
Big fella, we know you're watching at the moment. He will be back next week as well. Rest up, and we'll take care of things tonight, including what Bryce Cotton's doing in this league right now. And he is taking care of business on the regular. We are witnessing something right now that I hope we're still talking about in 15, 20, 30 years from now. This is greatness at its very finest form.
It sure is, and again, you have a look at this, around 11, when he had the 89 points combined, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, the way he's just going about it. And what impresses me most as we continue to break down the stretch that he's on. So, he had 49 points against Adelaide. Did you see the last 40 seconds when all he was worried about was, you know what, we're going to win the game, don't worry, they're double teaming me. Everyone expected them to foul to try and stay in the game. Wasn't even worried about it. We have a look at the last 3 games there, but look at the averages at the bottom.
Ridiculous.
Not even just the 49.3. Look at the efficiency. 65, 56, and 95.
They're unbelievable numbers.
We've never, I can't really recall ever seeing these numbers. Now, Bryce Cotton, he does not have an offensive flaws. We look at the most straight games with 40 points. I thought it was going to be 4 points because I'd have been on there somewhere. Drury obviously at the top with 8. The Reverend Al Green, and then Gazy.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, but Bryce does not have an offensive flaw in his game. He can do anything offensively that man is capable of. And I like the fact that he didn't go for 50. You know why? He'd have been a wanker. He'd have looked like a wanker trying to chase around and try to get 2 more points.
Yeah.
Guys was almost double teaming. He's like, no, that's okay. I can get 50 if I wanted to. 49 is fine. We got the win. Here you go. You guys go play amongst yourselves kind of thing. I like the fact that he doesn't need to chase it like that. It comes to him organically. He still penetrates and gets others involved. He's playing lights out basketball.
He is, and again, I think what also impresses me the most is everyone's asking where this came from in terms of just this historic stretch. And I go back to the time that he missed. And he spoke about it now, about how he was just itching at the bit, watching the team go out there. And when basketball's taken away from a guy like that, that's all you know. That's all you've thrived on for so long, how much he was excited to get back on the floor. But also, he'll never admit it. There was the chatter piping up from a few people, led a little bit by Mr. Von Hoff. The Perth play better without Bryce.
Oh, that's
blasphemous.
That's for
And he's come back and said, hang on, is that the case? And it goes with all of it. And again, I think the biggest driving piece in everything with Bryce is the legacy that he is creating and that he is nowhere near finished. And he spoke about that. I've talked to him a couple of times where he said he's got things literally written on his bathroom mirror that he wants to tick off before it's all said and done. And he said there's so much more left. And I'm thinking, what could there possibly be? We're starting to see some of it.
Well, the next layer is he going to be here next year? And is he going to be at the Perth Wildcats if he is? Mark Arena, the owner of the Perth Wildcats, this afternoon spoke to the West Australian, and some very interesting things to say. It's obvious that Bryce has been and continues to be the best player in the NBL, and we believe he should be compensated accordingly. We believe our offer to Bryce reflects that reality. We also believe, and this is the thing that's going to get people talking, we also believe that Bryce continuing to play for Perth provides him with the best platform to be the undisputed greatest NBL player of all time.
Does Bryce want to be the greatest of all time? Is that something? Listen to him talk. That's a debate for all of us. That's a debate for the fans and all the spectators. Bryce just wants to win and play the best basketball he can possibly play. I don't think he gets caught up in this debate, Jordan versus LeBron. I don't think he cares about that. Now, as far as the offer goes, Mr. Mark Arena, I hope it's a bunch of zeros there. But Bryce said, I will deal with this when it's time. It ain't time right now, which tells me, how good offer is that, Jack?
To me, it can't be that good. If it was that good, and in all of the terms and everything was where it needed to be, Pete, then this pen would have gone to paperboy.
No, because I'm with you a little bit, Damon. I'm on the other side of some other things you said, where I think the legacy does matter, and I think that comes down to winning. I think when Bryce Cotton wants to look back on his career, it's not going to be about all the zeros that he could have made and wanted to make and probably deservedly made. It's the championships, being able to contend for a championship year in, year out. The MVPs are nice, they're coming along the way. He's got 4, he probably should have 6. So all those things that continue to pile up into it, which is, I know we're talking about what if we lose him as a league if he goes to Japan. It would be well-deserved. It would be understandable to have that money kind of thrown at him. But the legacy that he's building, we might not see again for a very, very, very long time here in the NBL. And he's far from done.
Please stay, Bryce. Please, on behalf of all of us, please stay. We don't care which of the teams you play for, just stay with us here in Australia. The Wildcats, since the FIBA break, Damon, have been really interesting. It's almost like they've now decided, we know that we're not a great defensive team, so we're just going to try and score more than everyone else.
Stop trying to make a cat bark like a dog. It ain't gonna happen. They don't have the horses. Now, in saying that, they have been playing without Keanu Pender, a great rebounder. They've been playing without Christian Doolittle, a guy that can do a bit of everything and defend interior. But as far as the entire team goes collectively, they're not a defensive team. Not even at the beginning of the season, none of us ever thought that. They don't have the pieces that you could say like, oh, there's a Deli or there's a Shea Illy type or there's, just these combo kind of defensive players. They don't have those. What they have is offensive guys. Now, if their offense is better than your defense, they'll get you. If you come in and you try to match it with them, you won't be able to. Only a couple of teams, I feel like, can match it when they're up and firing. And we got to wait and see. But right now, what they're giving up is not sustainable for a championship. But for regular season games, it's great.
It's fun.
Well, it's funny to hear you say that because a few weeks ago and in the last 5 years, if someone told me that about the Wildcats, you sat here and said that, I'd say it's absurd. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard. The more I've gone back to watch things since the FIBA break, the more I'm starting to see it.
Come on over, Pete.
I'm starting to see that, and I don't think it would have been John really just having practices being like, hey, look, we're not just a great defensive team. It's just that maybe more of our focus goes on, hey, we've got offensive talent. Let's run the floor. Let's push the pace. Let's just try and outscore every single person and hope that we get enough stops or you miss enough shots. Because in the end, if you miss enough shots, well, we've got a guy called Bryce Cotton who's going to make a lot more than you miss.
So for the Wildcats, they've established, I think, what they're going to be for the rest of the season. For the Adelaide 36ers right now, it doesn't feel like they know what they're going to be. What they do have is Kendrick Davis coming back into this team, which has been helpful, and we saw how good he was on Sunday, Damon. They will get Montrezl Harrell back this week as well. 4 losses in a row, though. 9th on the ladder. Are they just about gone?
And with DJ Vasiljevic being out for who knows when he's going to come back with the bad hammy, it's too early to say they're not going to make the 6, but they are very wobbly right now. Now, Kendrick Davis, he's an MVP candidate. Make no mistakes about it. The guy's lights out as well. Now, Montrezl Harrell, you got to assume with his career, with his pedigree, he should be able to slot right back in. Jet lag, whatever. He'll come back in and get himself a nice little 22 and 12 or something like that. It's those other guys. Sunday Dech being out is a huge out. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. Isaac Humphries, he's got to be consistent, and we'll probably talk about him a little bit later, but Jerell Martin, right now, how they're operating is not enough to make the top 6.
Yeah, they're probably going to win 9 or 14, maybe, history tells us. It is, and again, you look at the recent champions of where they're at on the ladder at certain times, and I want to have a look at this in particular. So, last time in NBL 17, Perth were 8th, and Adelaide are currently 9th after round 11, so the start of round 12. But I'm just looking at these teams, and do they have the culture or the mindset of Tassie on the defensive end like Tassie did last year, or even when they were competitive? No. Sydney when they went back-to-back, Melbourne and Perth those couple of years? No. Do I think they'll make the playing tournament? I do. I really do, because I think they've got enough talent. But what is hurting them right now, obviously they're sitting 9th, is the teams just around them are winning. Brisbane's winning games, Tassie's winning games, and all of a sudden it's starting to get a bit more space in that region, and that's what they can't afford.
Well, one thing that they do need is Kendrick Davis firing, and he fired in a big way on the weekend. This is the sort of game, Pete, that if Bryce Cotton didn't play, we probably would have led the show with Kendrick Davis today.
He was unbelievable, and again, he has really been like this since round 1, and it's the poise, right? It's the composure. It's his willingness to be able to get involved in every single opportunity. We saw him try and go and take Bryce Cotton. I don't think people understand how much of an effort that is. When you're chasing around Bryce, who's also in fuego at the time, you should be a little bit tired on resting on the other end, but he had the ball in his hands the whole time. I feel for Kendrick Davis after this game, just like I felt for PJC when they had phenomenal games and Bryce Cotton said, no one's going to remember that.
What about Isaac Humphries, Damon? Because Montrezl Harrell is coming back, how does this all work? Because Isaac, it feels like with Trez out of the team, is getting the ball again, he's feeling the love again. How do they make sure that he keeps feeling the love?
You know, and that's up to PJC. Sorry, it's up to Kendrick Davis. It's up to Jason Kadee to keep Isaac Humphries involved. Now, he was very efficient. 11 of 12 is just damn near perfect. But when he's not getting looked after, Isaac has a tendency to go to sleep. We've all seen him do it. It almost looks like his frustration gets the better of him, and he just goes, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to give forth that maximum effort. But when you're feeding a big guy, clearly he can produce like this for you. The issue is when Trez comes back, he's the go-to interior guy. Isaac's gonna have to play like the third fiddle kind of thing, and if he's happy to do that, he can still contribute. But I don't know if we're going to see big numbers like that.
And then the other part to the puzzle is what happens when Montrez comes back for Jerell Martin, Pete. And his return to this team has been pretty patchy. Let's be honest here, Jerell Martin is a big-ticket item for the Adelaide 36ers and a big-ticket item here in the NBL. Those numbers are not even close to what he produced when he was in Sydney.
No, they're not. And I don't think they would have expected at this point of the season for him to be averaging 15 and 8 like he was in Sydney. Because
probably not 7 and 4.
Yeah, because he missed so much time. And really, I'm not even worried about the numbers. If he was averaging 7 and 4 at this time, I would be okay with it if he looked more aggressive and looked more assertive and looked like he was more impactful. Like, we understand he missed a whole lot of time. When you miss that much time, you come back and you're trying to really make your imprint on a team. Then you get injured in that team and have to miss even more time. He's still trying to get back to the game shape. He's still trying to get back to game style, all of that. But unfortunately, as you said, when you're a big ticket item, you're going to play and they're playing a short rotation. They need more from him. If they find that and then they can find the rotation, the pieces are there for them to get into a 6 and then just not going to be a team you want to play.
Time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking into the future. How much time are we going to wait, Pete? We can't wait all day for this dude. You the import. You getting paid some good coin. Now, this is what you got to stop doing, a lot of the GMs. Stop bringing out guys that's hurt. Now, I'm happy to see Jerell Martin because he's a champion. Yeah. But stop bringing out guys that's hurt, that already putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Then he comes back into it, and he's not in shape. When Jerell Martin is in shape and being a focal point, because right now how they playing him, he's on the perimeter shooting threes.
But he's always going to be a focal
I know,
point
but
in this team, right?
Yeah, but he played with like Tim Suarez. He played with Xavier Cooks. He played with those kind of connecting guys where he didn't have to rely on just getting post touches. Right now, he's getting hardly any of those. So it's a weird dynamic offensively, and Kendrick Davis and DJ to a lesser degree, those are score-first guards. So Jerell Martin is kind of in a real bad spot physically and schematically.
Did you know he could sing like that?
Well, there were so many other songs that have time in them than I was expecting that we went down. That was beautiful, though. I'm going to need that next to my pillow tonight. I'll doze off.
Combination of Fergie and Jesus. That was beautiful. Saw Brisbane on the weekend against Melbourne pull off. Well, Derek Rucker's called it on Monday on Moments That Mattered. Brisbane's best wins since they returned to the NBL. They were exceptional against Melbourne. They went to school. They got points out of all of their imports. Tyrell Harrison played as though he was one of the best big men in the competition. It was a joy to watch the Bullets on Sunday.
It was a stunning performance. And again, the numbers for them to put up. When you've got 4 players scoring over 25, not just 20, 4 players putting up 25 plus, good things are happening. So you have a look at this. This is their starting 5 against Melbourne. Even Mitch Norton.
Yeah, don't underrate Mitch Norton.
He did his job. He did his job. He always does his job. He's so reliable. But Casey Prater, the form that he's in right now, it's really good to see. You mentioned Tyler Harrison. Keandre Cook's just quietly going about a phenomenal season as well. And James Bateman, who continues to put up numbers. But Casey Prater's the one.
Yeah.
The last 3 games, especially from Casey Prater. As someone who obviously was a teammate of mine back in Melbourne United so long ago, knowing what he went through with that knee injury when he went overseas, to the point of there was talk that he may never play basketball again. And you've seen how hard he had to work. When he came back last year, at the end of last season, he looked a shade of himself. And now that we're starting to see the confidence, the swagger about him, and I think he's understanding more what he's capable of and the limitations that are now on his body with his what happened to his knee. But he's doing it to his advantage, and it's so good to see. I'm so happy to see him back with this. And by the way, the interview between Ariana and Casey,
yes.
that got me, man.
That was so good.
I'm an emotional wreck at the best of times. I'm sitting there just being like, oh, this is lovely.
How good was Ariana too? Total professional. You would have no idea that she cooked him dinner the night before.
I was thinking just one little peck. Just a quick little, get out of here, big fella. Take that with you.
Just on Brisbane, before we move on, Damon, it was interesting to watch Justin Schuller coach them on Sunday. And a lot of it's through necessity because there's no Josh Bannon and no Deng Adele at the moment. But he went against what everyone else is doing right now in terms of substitutions. He rolled with 5, 6, maybe 7 for little parts, but he rolled with his studs and said, go and get us the win.
Yeah, and I've been calling for the imports for Brisbane to collectively average between 55 and 60 points a game. They all haven't been able to get off at the same time. That's old school kind of basketball right there. When your 3 Americans, your 3 imports, wherever country they from, they produce to this level. Terrell Harrison showed us the game that he had like back in the preseason, back in the Blitz, and obviously like you said about Mitch Norton. But the good thing that with Josh Bannon being out, Casey now gets to play that 4th spot. And he's not as athletic as he used to be, but he's so fundamental. He's got the shot fakes, the jabs, the precision, one dribble pull-ups. His game is really polished. And getting extended minutes, instead of this play 4, sit for 3, come back. No, just play your studs and let them build a lead and put your bench players in around them. That's how I would like to see this team operate from here on out.
When I'm watching this show every Tuesday night, I'm sitting at home and I'm loving what's coming next, of course, mainly because we all don't know what's coming for each other. But of the good stuff, there's plenty of it here in the NBL, but there's some stuff that should never go without being spoken about, and it's time for this Ain't No Cupcake League. Well, I'm lucky because I'm in the chair just for 1 week only. I can just throw a couple of punches and then get out of here. So Felix von Hoff, he's not here tonight, unfortunately. And Felix, we are thinking of you during this time, and get rested and get back here in this chair. But let me just take you back to last Sunday at John Cain Arena.
Hello and welcome to John Cain Arena. The Melbourne Sports Precinct is packed. The basketball's on. The Wiggles are down the road. We got enough clowns in the building with Gazy and Rucker.
He gives 110%.
That's 190%.
That's why his chest is inflamed.
And when you blow up like that, here's what happens as a result.
Any wonder.
Oh, man.
What's is it how it started and how it's going? Yeah.
Exactly. That's a real life picture that came straight through. We love Derek Rucker here. He's a friend of the show. We've loved what he's done on NBL Overtime. You've seen him on Moments That Mattered. You wouldn't have seen this, Damon. Now, have a look at this. This is what happens. This is why sometimes you have to pre-record some things. But this was Ruck having a go on Moments That Mattered.
So, and especially with Parker Jackson Cartwright.
So a little bit of a room service just interrupting. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe
Was that room service?
maybe
Uber
a little-
Eats?
Well, firstly, I'm trying to figure out where is he. Is that a display home?
Oh,
Are we going into a display home and said, this looks good, this is what Moments Matter? He wasn't done, though. They were continuing to film the show, and we had another incident.
Maintain faith in what you're trying to do as a head coach. Hold on one second. Oh, you got a whole crew. Hey, I'm just doing a show here, so you guys, we only got like 5 minutes left. Okay. Ask that one again, Jack. Sorry.
The family of the house he's in came home. Can you get out of our house, please?
who are all those
I
people?
don't know. I don't know. He does a fantastic job.
Do you think it was Hey Dad? It was filmed in front of a studio
Thought it
audience?
might have been Derek Rucker basketball people trying to sign up to get his classes. That's going to be hard to beat. But we've all seen Bryce Cotton. We've all been marveling at how he's been playing, and we all get excited when Bryce goes to work. But nobody gets more excited than our man out there in the West, Lockie Reed.
Oh, Benny Hedgehog! Bryce Cotton finishes the play with an alley-oop slam dunk! Slam, my goodness me! Slam dunk!
Now, that's Taylor Swift concert kind of reaction stuff right there. Lockie just did a full 360, cocked the leg up. Damo was like, Lockie, calm down, man.
The voice break for me, Damo was locked into that voice break as well. It was a great call.
Do you think that he's got posters of Bryce in his room somewhere?
Don't we all?
We'll talk about that and a whole lot more on the other side of this. The Kings got the job done on the weekend, Tasmania, and a whole lot more still to come. This is Overtime. Great to have your company on Overtime as we start to take a look towards round 12. A couple of marquee matches coming up that we'll get to a little later on in the show. Update from Felix, and I think a lot of people love that picture of him in the hospital outfit as well. You can download that as your wallpaper. Just jump onto NBL.com. No, I'm kidding. Felix will be back next week. Sydney Kings got the job done. At the moment, let's be honest, for the Sydney Kings, it's just about getting the job done. They're not playing their best basketball, Damon. They're not even close to that, but the New Zealand win was a decent one.
All you got to do is win. Now, obviously, Brian Goorjian is trying to get his troops to playing in the right kind of way. He's been coaching them hard, as he says. Having Jalen Adams coming back, he came off the bench and was sensational. Xavier Cooks got his nice little 20 points. And anytime you can win on the road, it's tough. Now, Jalen Adams, like we said earlier, he came off that little hiccup he had in Melbourne United game. We forgot the rules of getting the ball over half court. But when this guy is healthy and fit, there's few better than him in the league. So he's firing. Xavier Cooks is always going to be Xavier Cooks. So this is a great road win, but I want to give a special shout out. That is a very nice finish by Space Cam. But Kawhi Noy, the I will never lose faith in myself team, he is the captain. It don't matter if he plays 1 minute or 31 minutes. He never loses faith in himself, produces, giving Brian some excellent point production off the bench. Right now, they're just treading water, positioning themselves as best they can hopefully for a late season run.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Adams looked terrific. I really do think he's the cog in this team. If they're going to go as far as they want to go, it's going to be on the back of Jalen Adams. Xavier Cook, we know how important he is. Cam Oliver's going to be the same. You talk about Sean Bruce, Kawhi Noy, but it's all about Jalen Adams for me. He looked like he was moving a whole lot better too. You could see that back injury kind of looks like a thing of the past. And with all the questions we've had about Sydney, and we're kind of nitpicking, we're kind of breaking it down, saying, look, this is not where they need to be. They're really struggling here. Rotations, understandably so with all the talent they have. But if you want to go right down the end of that spectrum and say, this is the worst the Sydney Kings could possibly look after round 11, considering everything we've spoke about, they're third. So with all that, they are still third with a real shot at finishing top 2. And if they can do that, they avoid a playing tournament. And if they figure out all the rest of it and come together and have it 90% of the way by the end of the season, you don't want to play the Sydney Kings if they figure it all out like that.
Just on the Kings, what sort of season is Xavier Cooks having, do we think? Is he having a great season, a good season, an average season?
I think he's having a rock-solid season. Now, me and Joel Peterson, JP, we did the NBL pod last week, and I thought that he was having not as impactful of a season. But we went back and looked at the numbers, and Xavier's got better numbers now than he did the year he won MVP. Figure that one out. I thought that the Kings are so small with him playing a lot of fireball, it just didn't seem like it was as impactful as it was when he played with Jordy Hunter and Jerell Martin and Tim Suarez. But he's having a rock-solid season. Is he MVP of the league? Probably not, but he is definitely in the conversation still.
Well, again, I think that you say you had to go back and look at that and figure out that his numbers are better than that is more of the fact that we're now used to this, but he's kind of doing it in a less loud way in terms of going out there and having those massive games or the highlight dunks we're playing over and over. He's just doing what Xavier Cooks and what former MVPs do, and that is dominating games where he has to, dominating matchups where he has to. I know you weren't happy about the 1 rebound.
How can you be?
And I understand that. I expect that
it was an anomaly.
There's a big bounce back for that. That's going to be an asterisk on the season. But again, Xavier Cooks is super important for the Sydney Kings team. And I've been impressed watching him through all the ups and downs the team has had. He's actually been one of the more consistent guys. And the fact that his down game might be a 14-8 game probably speaks to how elite he is as a player.
So question without notice for both of you then. If you were picking the All-NBL first team today, would Xavier Cooks be in it?
Oh. Ooh. Now that it's positionless, I immediately went.
Jesus.
That's really tough. Well, you got Kendrick.
I mean, we can wait.
I got
Kendrick, Bryce, Trez, PJC, and then you got a spot up for grabs.
And as long as they're in the top 6, I'm happy to look at. I can't put Matt Hurt in there. Well, although they're in the 6 now.
Yeah,
they are now.
Oh, come
Jack
back
White.
to it.
Goldie.
Ponder that. We'll come back to that before the end of the show. Brian Goorjian's press conferences post-game are always must-watch because you never quite know where the GOAT is going to take things. And of recent weeks, he's been trying to play things down a little bit with the Kings, including this on the weekend.
We're trying to stay afloat and be relevant in this thing. And, tonight, again, just the importance of it. Just wanted to make sure they understood that. And then, just as a coaching standpoint, since probably 2 weeks ago, we're getting some practices at home, and I haven't even been talking about winning and losing. All I've been trying to do is drive standards.
How much of a float do you have to be sitting third on the ladder? Somewhere 40 and Petteri Koponen is sitting there just being like, huh? What are you talking about staying afloat? I understand what he's doing. We've seen his press conferences, and again, he's facing up and doing a lot of them on his own now, and he's kind of really taking that brunt as the GOAT would do. And I think that what he's trying to allude to is that things change in terms of the way he's coaching guys from the FIBA break. And he said he was doing it in a way that he's going to be on them even more for every single piece of slippage, knowing that they have to bring it all together. If the 8th person comes into the game and they have cracks in whatever it is in game style, that's going to leak into the starting 5. And he's saying he's holding everybody accountable. Goes back to saying about they shouldn't have been the championship favourites. I think he's probably deflecting a little bit on that, understandably so, knowing that once they get it all together, as we say, the Sydney Kings will be around the mark. And again, they're not going to be a team you want to play, Damon, in a 3-game series.
Brian is in the coaching trenches right now. He's got so much depth. He's never had this level of depth before. The years he won those 3 championships in Sydney, even the year he coached the Illawarra Hawks, this level of depth is unprecedented in the Brian Goorjian coaching era. You got 4 guards. You got 4 guys that could play the point. You got 4 2 guards. You got 2. You got like 3 6'7", 6'8" 4 men. And all the pieces, sometimes they look good with certain other pieces. Some guys play well with others, and it is an absolutely minefield that Brian is going through right now. He acknowledges it. It's tough. One week we might see Tui play 6 minutes. Next week Alex Tui might play 30 minutes. Nobody really knows, and Brian himself doesn't quite know neither. So that's why he's kind of playing it down a little bit, because he's still trying to figure it out. And he still got Bull Quall to come back to the team. And, you know, Jaden Galloway used to be in the team. I mean, what a dilemma to have as a coach.
Damon, I know you love the JackJumpers. I know you love talking about this team with all of the mental fortitude that they have. It hasn't been their season so far, but while we've been talking about Melbourne and Illawarra and Perth and even Sydney now as well, the reigning champions have won their last 4.
Those little poisonous little ants. Here they come. They marching again. They're not marching as loud as they were last season, but here they come. And on the back of Sean McDonald coming back into the lineup. Now, let me just say, Sean McDonald is not the sole reason. This isn't a Shawnee versus a Jordan Crawford situation. You need 3 guards. Now, Jordan Crawford is still averaging 14 points a game. He's still the president of Little Big Man Society. He's got the chip. But Shawnee Mack gives them an extra backcourt ball handler, more poise, extra efficiency, because you never know. As we look at the stats here, you guys can read it for yourselves. I'm over here talking. I'm busy talking.
Can you not read that?
What is that? I didn't bring my glasses. You guys get the picture. But Sean McDonald is extremely important. Putting up graphics in the middle of my spiel is distracting me. But the Jackies they're looking dangerous, Jack.
They just seem on the same as you guys can read that for yourself. That's basically saying I don't want to read it for you. They do look, with Sean McDonald with ball in hand, they do look more composed, Pete. It looks like Milton Doyle has to do less to get open. And even for Jordan Crawford, he can play a little bit more off the ball as well.
In terms of the Jordan Crawford aspect of it, I love it for the sake of, I expect him to probably come off the bench for the foreseeable future. And I actually think he can thrive there, because if you look at how things are going beforehand, they didn't have scoring punch coming off the bench. But Juk Deng is the other one we keep talking about. When he's up and going, so's this Tassie offense. And when he's scoring 15 points a night, it takes pressure off Crawford or Doyle to have their 30-point nights. So I expect them to kind of roll with this lineup going forward. Shawnee Mack, he plays so much more mature than his age. This is a development player last year. And this is a guy who we've seen and we're expecting big things from, because we've already seen it on the biggest stage in a championship series. It's no surprise that they look a lot better with him in the lineup. But again, we have seen this story before with Tasmania. Every single year it's something. You go back to the year they started, when they started so slow, and then the second year after making a championship series, they lost their first 3 games. They were 20 minutes away from being 0-4, down double digits to Brisbane, won that game in overtime at MyState Bank Arena, and they made a charge for a top 4 spot. They just know how to battle through adversity, and they always find themselves around the mark. As I've said, Jack, if they finish 5th, whoever plays in that playing tournament,
forget about it.
Don't even get on the plane. You do not have to go down there and play Tassie in Tassie for a do-or-die playing tournament game. We already know the result.
That home court advantage down in Tasmania is very, very real. Just on Jordan Crawford, mainly because I know how much you love him, Damon. How is he going to make this work for him now that Sean McDonald's back? Is it the 3 ball?
I feel like the three ballers were the only part of his game that he's kind of letting himself down. Now, he's not shooting. I will go through these, though.
There we go.
These last 6 games, Jordan Crawford is shooting 18.7%. I mean, Pete, you even shot better than that. It's just not falling for him right now, but you don't want to overreact as long as they're good shots to take. And now with the addition of Sean McDonald back into the lineup, that frees him up. Because before, when it's just 2 guards, it's hard because Milton Doyle, let's not let him off the hook. He hasn't put 2 good scoring games together in a row, I think, all season. So between the 2 of those guys, you needed that little third circuit breaker. Now here comes Shawnee Mack that can free up Jordan Crawford a little bit more. His ego is not out of control. Scott Roth has already acknowledged that. Jordan Crawford is happy to come off the bench. He'll play his minutes, and they'll be impactful. Some games will probably be more impactful than others. I think Jordan Crawford's fine. Right now, just going through a shooting slump.
I thought you were going to have some sort of segue to showing your highlight again.
What highlight? Which one was that one?
The one.
Oh, the free throw.
Yeah, there's only one.
There was more than that.
Which you rightly pointed out. You had 17 other points in that game.
If we take our time and go through the archives, there's plenty more.
Speaking of the Hawks, they come to Melbourne on Friday night. They play Melbourne United, first versus second. It is a marquee matchup. And for this Hawks team, they're going to bounce into John Cain Arena full of confidence because they've picked up another scalp. They have created, under Justin Tatum, this incredible ability to steel themselves for the big games and more often than not win them.
Look, I think they're the most dangerous team in the league. I really do think they're the most dangerous team in the league. Melbourne United, I think we've seen what they can do and when they really lock in defensively, when Chris Goulding's healthy, what they can achieve. But I don't think we've seen the best of Illawarra yet, which is why that makes them the most dangerous team in the league. Trey Kell, what a signing he has been in the offseason. Yep. And again, just quietly going about his business. But he's the one who really has taken a big step forward, leadership-wise, I believe, as leading by actions. But he's filling it up every which way. 7 of 12 for 26 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Like, these are numbers Damon Lowery would dream of back in the day. Like, this is what Trey Kell has. We've seen it. We've seen it, right, in glimpses ever since the move to the point guard spot last season. And credit whoever that was. Whoever that was, for whatever reason, whichever coach it was, whether it was Trey Kell, whether it was management saying, hey, let's just try and run you as a point guard. He is thriving in that role, and he's a big reason why Tyler Harvey's having one of his most efficient and damaging seasons. He's one of the big reasons everyone else is finding their spot. They are so well-versed. Everything's working well. The punch of Hyunjong Lee, Lockie Ulbrich, Dave O'Hickey coming off the bench. I really think they've got all the pieces to make a real run at it.
100%. And they got that edge. They got that intangible. They feel like last season they should have been in the championship series. They feel like they get disrespected all the time. They're playing with an extra little chip. They got familiarity, as we've already spoken about, bringing back 90% of the team. And Justin Tatum made a master stroke, put Mason Peatling into the starting lineup. Now, that is not to disrespect Mason or Darius Days. Mason Peatling, we saw the impact he had with Melbourne United when it was him and Jack White kind of going tit for tat, kind of going, tag teaming. He's doing the same thing now with Darius Days. Darius gets to look at the game for a fresh set of eyes, comes in, doesn't pick up those early fouls because he's being a little bit too aggressive. And Mason brings that extra IQ to the floor. He's quite intelligent as a player. And right now the Hawks needed that scalp, like you said. So they go to Perth, and they withstood 40 from Bryce. They took it, and then they delivered 120-odd points or whatever. Now they need some get back against Melbourne United this Friday night.
It's really important that they win that game, right, and make it as competitive as possible.
On Friday?
On Friday. I really do think, again, with Chris Goulding out, you want to go in there and you want to make a statement as well, because you know that Melbourne United are going to be trying to bounce back as well. We talk a lot about Melbourne United when they come off losses that they shouldn't have. What usually happens, that sets up for a cracker.
Sometimes games come and go a little bit in this league. If you have nothing on Friday night, then you know what you should be doing, and that's watching first versus second. If you do have something on, cancel the plans, because Melbourne and Illawarra at John Cain Arena is going to be an absolute bumper game, and cannot wait for that. Stick with us, still plenty more to come. This is Overtime.
Hand in the face. Swish though. Does not matter. Ty Webster shoots the lights out to finish the half. Glover catch and shoot 3 in rhythm.
Cotton, nothing is beyond the man. He goes from half court. Oh! Spectacular work from Bryce Cotton.
That's how easy it is for Bryce Cotton right now. He's knocking them down from halfway, and he leads the Mitsubishi Motors three-point ladder, 53 for the second, I should say, on 42. Chris Goulding still leads on 53, but not playing this weekend as well. Bryce is catching him. He's coming quick.
He sure is. And again, Bryce Cotton, nothing's out of the realm of possibility. We said it a couple of weeks ago and said that Chris Goulding, well, he won't be caught. Well, he's going to miss some time, and Bryce Cotton just continues to put together a masterpiece. There's a few guys who could catch. Tyler Harvey. There's a few. Just on Mitsubishi. Is that your Outlander in the car park at the moment?
Oh, so Gazy's got one and Pete's got one now.
It's a beautiful vehicle. Gazy was right. It is a phenomenal piece of machinery.
How?
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I don't know.
Cairns Taipans are struggling right now. A bit like Damon and I are. We walked here tonight because we haven't got cars. Taipans are struggling. And they're at this point, Damon, where I don't think it's hard to watch them play. They were very competitive against South East Melbourne. But it's hard to watch them finishing out games, and when they're getting into winning positions, they're not winning. They're not closing out games.
And you can already see it happening to that fourth quarter. We called that game, Jack, and we just watched them slowly as we look at their fourth quarter fade-outs. I mean, Hawks twice, 36s. I mean, everybody just about in the entire league, even in overtime game, they're literally blowing games. And I always said, and I was taught as a youngster that losing is a habit. You literally learn how to lose. They haven't had enough success closing out games, getting wins. Their starting five has only played maybe 2 to 3 games together for the entire season. And no matter what Adam Ford says to him, he says all the right things, and I think he's coaching his butt off, but it's between the ears of these guys. They need to know who to go to down the stretch, P. And I feel like a lot of this has to a lot of the burden has to be on Taran Armstrong's shoulders. Yes, you're playing some great basketball. Yes, you're looking like an NBA guard, but you got to get wins, man. You got to find a way to win.
Well, it's funny you talk about between the ears because Adam Ford's press conference after that last loss, and he said right now it's 100% mental. Yep. He said there's no injuries anymore. You can talk about form, play style. Right now it's all between the ears. They've got to try and figure out. And that's all of me. He's putting himself in that mix as well. And what is tough is he said, so they have played the last 2 games they've had their full starting 5 available. Before that it was round 3, the first game of that round 3 doubleheader before Tanner Groves got injured. So they've finally got pieces together. And you look at some of those games. They should have beaten Sydney at home. They were right there. They just couldn't make enough shots. They didn't execute enough down the stretch. They were right in there with Tassie. They couldn't make enough stops when it mattered most. Will Magnay had his way with them as well. So they've got all these kind of pieces. And what makes it being overshadowed? You mentioned Taran Armstrong, NBA caliber player. Can't wait to see him get that opportunity. Sam Wardenberg's having an outstanding individual season.
Here's Taran. I mean, his form's fantastic, Damon. So how does he become a winning point guard? To your point, it's one thing to have these numbers. How does he convert these into W's?
Because you've got to recognize who needs the ball in which situation on the court. I like to see Taran play more situational basketball. It can't just be me dribble the life out of the ball. Look, all these are great moves. We saw him make a move against the Phoenix that was sensational. Like, all this kind of stuff right here is nice. But at the same time, you got a guy like Rob Edwards who was getting hot, who had a mismatch, and you kind of let him starve a little bit. You got a guy like Sam Wardenberg who you got to keep involved. Tanner Groves needs some buckets because he's going to give you so much effort, and he's likely going to foul out at some point. So you want to get as much out of him as you can. I feel like Taran has got to encompass everybody. And he'll learn this as a point guard. It's just not about getting your points and your numbers. You got to get everybody else involved.
So with that being said, so Taran's running the point. Rob Edwards is streaky and has been a little bit moody and a little bit up and down in the last few weeks. So how important then is Sam Wardenberg?
Oh, he's everything. He's been their most consistent player all year and most damaging player in terms of the way he's going about it. He's shooting the ball confidently. He's getting above the rim. He's really getting aggressive off the dribble, which I think is the next step for his game. And what I love most is he's a player who's had to deal with some really poorly timed injuries. He's missed the last 2 summer leagues before last year with bad timing injuries. He's had to sit there and just experience it. I can tell you, sitting on the end of a bench of the summer league roster of all places is not a place you want to be. So he's had to do that without getting the opportunity to play. He had his ups and downs last year between the years, that sophomore slump, call it whatever you want. He's been outstanding this year and showing that he can be a premier big man in the competition. But on Taran, when we talk about, are Cairns making the 6?
No.
At what point then do you start to think, okay, well, Taran's an NBA prospect. He's got to start showing then what he can do on the next level as well.
Okay. I'm glad you brought this up. Now, what does he need? What does they need to show? What does he need to show to GMs at the NBA? That I can score? They're like, man, everybody can score in the NBA. Can you lead? Point guard, I'm from the point guard school, and if you lose, it's my fault. We got to, you have to be the winner. They looking at that winning guy. My mate Tyrone Muggsy Bogues made it a USA Pan Am Games team. Bobby Knight tried to cut him. Every court he put Tyrone Muggsy Bogues on, he kept making his team win. He had no choice but to take him. So Taran Armstrong, yes, for all your lovely stats and highlights, they're great. But you're going to have to figure out a way to get some of those wins because late down the stretch, we're all looking at the point guard.
Speaking of not getting wins, the New Zealand Breakers are getting no wins right now. They were second on the ladder at the FIBA break. They were one of the great stories of the start of the season. It is very, I don't know how else to put it, it is very hard to watch the New Zealand Breakers right now. It is very sad to watch what is happening to this New Zealand Breakers team since the FIBA break. And that third quarter against Melbourne on Thursday night was as close to unwatchable as you'll see this season.
And this is not, again, a lot of people are going to go back and just say, oh, it's Taco Fall. Taco Fall's actually looked all right. We know he was injured and then he came back. His numbers, they're not horrendous. There's no way you can put this on Taco Fall's shoulders. But the rest of the team, it just looks like that, what went down, how it all went down, has kind of leaked out. And this team looks a completely different team than we saw. I thought they would play like this when they got back from the States, because they had just done all this travel. They went to Perth, they went to Gold Coast, went to New Zealand in between, travelled all around America. I expected them to look like this then. Right now, they look like a team without an identity, and I don't know if they'll win any games in this round. I struggle to see them holding on to sixth spot.
Well, watching the press conference post-game of Coach Kopp, I think his emotions and his body language tells the story.
Let's say the worst thing tonight I saw first time, I didn't see us as a team. We were talking way too much. We were trying to find excuses all the time. I know we are hitting some adversity with all the, guys who are injured, guys who are coming back from the injury, trying to find the rhythm with the changes and all this. I get it, with the travel, with lack of practice time. But still, the most important thing for me, moving forward, we still have to keep playing as a team.
Well, they're stuck for answers, and to Pete's point about where is the next win coming from, here explains why they're not winning, Damon, and particularly the points that they're letting through per game since the FIBA break.
Defense has obviously taken a massive hit, but this is deeper than X's and O's. This is about your spirit. The New Zealand Breakers had a certain spirit that they were playing with prior to the FIBA break, and then it changed with Taco Fall. Like you say, it's not Taco's fault. No, it's not his fault. But that team had a comfortability with each other. It's like if I came out there, Pete, and took you a nice, beautiful Mitsubishi Outlander, and replaced it with my Hyundai accent, you'd be shitty. You'd be in a bad mood.
I would too. That car's a piece of crap.
Personally, I saw you come on a Horton car.
But it gets me from A to B.
There's a cupcake for next week.
What's a Horton car? Don't you dare talk bad about my Outlander like that.
But to my point is you got a certain comfort level with that vehicle, and you should. And the Breakers had a comfort level, and now it's all been turned around. It's just been thrown upside down. It's going to take a while to adjust. You know what? They might not want to. I feel like, Jack, we watching a team almost rebel.
Ooh.
Like, how dare you go and mess with our locker room? How dare you go and mess with the sanctity of what we had going? By the time they come out of this funk, and Petri Koppinen knows it, by the time they come out of it, because you can't make excuses, because that's not the world we live in. By the time they come out of it, they could be 8th or 9th place and miss out altogether.
What if they don't come out of it?
Well, again, going back to Coach Kopp, and that was a pretty raw press conference from him, looking into the future, as a first-year head coach, and he's one of my favourite coaches in the league, and got to see him in Summer League, meet him then, and the success he had early, the way that he's interacting and growing, what he's going through this year is going to help him be a phenomenal coach in the future, because every piece of adversity that you're going to find as a head coach has been thrown into a week where you've got other decisions that are out of your control. You've got all of this stuff happening, travel, everything, lack of practice time, player injuries, all happening to him that he's going to learn and grow from in the future. I can't wait to see that. But where's it come from here? Where's it go from here? I'm not so sure. And as I said, I don't know if they'll win a game this round. I struggle to see them holding on to sixth.
It's a sad, sad situation what's happening across the ditch. We've got some shout-outs to throw on the other side of this. Don't go too far. This is Overtime. This is Overtime. We'll talk round 12 very shortly, and the pressure rankings will be on before the end of the show. Even though Felix is not here, the pressure rankings will remain. They're on the run sheet. Time for some shout-outs. A couple of individual performances from the weekend that we loved. Pete, where you headed?
Got to give one to Rob Lowe. This man was retired not too long ago, and not only has come back and just looked like an integral piece to Melbourne United, but we're seeing Rob Lowe put up phenomenal numbers, and he said it's a stretch that probably the best offensive stretch he's had in his entire career. You go back to the onslaught he had, I think it was in Brisbane, and then everything else that went on around that. And he's another piece. He's their real X factor, I think, because if he's knocking down the three at a high rate, that's going to allow the lane to open up. It's going to bring the big guys away from the keyway when they have big matchups and allow guards to get into the keyway. You can't worry too much about Chris Goulding when he comes back. So Rob Lowe's their piece that if he continues to play at this, I think when they get to a championship series, he's going to be so crucial for them. And weirdly enough, the combination of him and Marcus Lee works really well. They're two completely opposite players, but it works really well.
Do you mind if I go next?
Go for it.
I'm only just here for 1 week, but I do want to give a shout out to Nathan Sobey. Nathan Sobey's performance on Saturday night against Cairns was outstanding. Now, he's got his critics. There's no doubt about that. We're not going to sit here and say that he plays perfect basketball, but on that particular night and in that particular performance, he led that team to victory. He was fantastic.
He D'd up down the stretch, too, on Rob Edwards. Some huge block shots, timely shooting. Like sometimes it's shot selection that gets everybody scratching their head. Excuse me. But he was phenomenal. He was efficient is the word I'm looking for. Played very well, took care of the ball late. It was kudos to him.
Now, these are shout-outs, Damon. I know you like to go down the negative path. You got a positive for us?
I do got a positive. I'm not always negative like that, man. My shout-out is for the Duke Blue Devil, the former Duke Blue Devil, Matt Hurt. Matt Hurt is a professional bucket getter. He got the three ball. He can put it on the floor. He can go around any big. What I like about Matt's offensive package is he'll let you know about it. He'll let the crowd know that these guys can't guard me out here. He'll post you up. This is a mismatch. He got all kind of stuff down here, just bully ball. He has also a little flex. Might need to get back in the gym a little bit, but that's all right. No, you sucked me in.
You can't help yourself.
I couldn't resist,
You
man.
almost got through the highlights package. You almost
Damn
got
it.
there.
No, Matt Hurt is an easy 20 and 10 kind of a guy, and as long as he gets his team into the top 6, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the first team All-NBA.
It really is, isn't he? He's playing Oh, Felix, throw to the stinger. Throw to the stinger. Well, this week's Trend is Your Friend is in true Felix von Hoff style. Very limited defense and a lot of offense, and that's what we're getting from the Perth Wildcats. Their defense, well, we haven't seen a whole lot of it, and their stunning attack. Damon, we asked about the question a bit earlier when we were talking about it, where have they just put the defense away? Are they saying, you know what, we're just going to outscore everybody. We've got Bryce Cotton. We've got Ben Henshaw, who we didn't speak about. Keanu Pinder's coming back. We have all of these options to score the ball. Is it real?
Put the defensive cue in the rack and just make every game a shootout. Now, Pete, do we have any more?
We got a little bit more in watching what they can deliver coming up. And again, I really do think that their offensive onslaught is going to continue. I really think that this is something that John really must have spoken about in some level. And so you're looking at what it could be going forward. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to score a whole lot of points. Defense is optional. You know there's going to be a lot of points. They're going to be probably the most entertaining games to watch, to be honest.
Well, Johnny really's got to say that, even though, they're all going, yeah. Let's get to the offensive end. What play are we running?
And again, as I said, that's in true Felix von Hoff style. And what else is the pressure rankings, and that's going to come up right after this break.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Welcome back to Overtime. If you missed what happened just before the break, then lucky you, because Pete Hooley threw to a stinger. That was some of the worst craft that we've seen on this show in a very, very, very long time. Just swim between the flags, big fella.
Yep. I thought it was a phenomenal effort, to be honest. I ride on confidence, and I might do it again.
Just come to the end of the bench and sit over here if you can. Let's take a look at what's coming up this weekend. There are some cracking games, and we start on Thursday night, which, I mean, all of a sudden, this Brisbane Southeast Melbourne game, a couple of weeks ago, you would have looked at this and thought, oh, yeah, it's a Thursday night game. It won't be too bad. These are two of the informed teams in the competition right now. All of a sudden, we're going to be up there Thursday night. I can't wait for this game.
Yeah, Brisbane, this is a test for them, right? They had probably their best round they've had in a very, very long time, not just this season, but you look at the last couple of seasons. Can they back it up? Can they back it up against a team? This is a double points game type of vibe, so I'm looking forward to that one as well.
I'm looking forward to the Melbourne Illawarra game because this is a game in Melbourne, the John Cain Arena. This is the get-back game for the Illawarra Hawks because Melbourne United came to the Wollongong, came to the sand pit, and put the smack down a little bit, and it got a little bit testy, so they got to get them back.
It's easy for me to look at the rest of the games and think, okay, the throwdown's going to be huge, which it will be. But what I'm really looking forward to is Adelaide and New Zealand because the monster is back. Montrezl Harrell is back. I think he's going to have a point to prove. And again, the way that Adelaide need to turn their season around, they need Kendrick Davis to continue to do his thing, and they need him to lead them and to do what he does best, which is bring the crowd along, which is bring everybody along for the ride, and then play some really good basketball. Can't wait to see Trez back in action, and that's going to be fun. There's a lot of big games in this round.
Very cool that Trez gets to come back to a home game as well. It just makes a bit more sense like it did with Kendrick Davis last week. Now, the pressure rankings, it always gets a little bit shaky at the end of this show. It doesn't have a stinger, I'm told, so we're just going to do this on the fly. We're going to start with number 5, Damon Lowery, in the pressure rankings for this weekend, and it's the Cairns Taipans.
Listen here, you tropical Taipans.
That's
11 L's in a row. You cannot lose 12 straight. You've got to find a way to win. You at home, you got Bryce Cotton coming to town who's trying to get his 4th 40-point and plus game in a row. You got to put the smack down. You got to get a dub.
He loves playing in Cairns too. It's his favourite road trip as well. And just, Damon, by the way, the red light on top of cameras is the one.
Right, gotcha.
Hey, we can go back and watch the last segment again if you want. At number 4, Pete Hooley, Jerell Martin.
Yeah, again, we spoke about it, right? If Adelaide really want to reach their full potential, they need Jerell to really find out probably what his identity and role is on this team. We've seen him trying to settle for the 3-ball lot, which it's hard, right? They've got Isaac Humphries, they've got Montrezl Harrell. If they're their 2 main bigs, where does that leave Jerell Martin? If he can find that, if he can carve out the role for him and the identity in this team, Adelaide have a real shot at making a run back up the ladder.
At number 3, the gunslingers from the West, the Wildcats.
Well, we saw the report from the West Australian. Get that deal done, whatever it takes. If that offer, if it hasn't been signed yet, maybe add another 0.
At number 2, across the ditch to the Breakers.
Hey, you gotta unbroken yourselves. Find a way to win. It's right now. You got more in the tank.
And at number 1, the guy who sits in this chair normally, Felix von Hoff.
Felix, my man. Anybody can sit here and host a show when they're 100%, but can you do it when you got a little bit of when your chest is wheezing a little bit? Can you just find something, some intestinal fortitude, Felix? Can't even get the words out. Get your ass back on the show, Felix.
Well, if he's back next week, it'll be great to have him. If not, I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.